Welcome to the May 2025 edition of Upfront and Real, a podcast brought to you by Ohio Cooperative Living Magazine and Ohio's Electric Cooperatives. I'm Karen Whitney, Director of Communications, and with me, Craig Grooms, our President and CEO. May is National Electrical Safety Month, if I'm saying that right. Something you can't talk too much about, is safety. And I always think spring storms are coming. We know power lines go down during that time. So let's talk about that for the members out there that watch this. What are some of the key things that you think about when you have storms, electrical lines down on the ground?
Well, that's a good question. The first thing that is very interesting about electricity is that you really can't see it work, right? It does so many amazing things, but it's invisible. We assume that you might see sparks or flashes with electrical conductors, especially if something's wrong, but that's not always the case. So what we recommend if consumers, members of co-ops see downed lines, anything out of the ordinary or unusual, always assume that it's energized, right? You have to play it safe. And that's where a lot of accidents happen, is when, consumers, citizens assume that an electrical wire, if it's downed, they can't see anything unusual, they assume it's de-energized, and often that's not the case, and that's when we have a lot of serious accidents.
Sometimes we're going to be in our car when we're out in these storms, and unfortunately we do see people having these collisions with electrical poles, lines come down on the car. This can be a real dangerous situation. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, you need to know what to do. Talk about that. Well,
unfortunately we have more distracted driving, whether it's a handheld device, people are not paying attention, and so if you do come in contact with a utility pole and wires come down, the first thing is if the vehicle is operable and you can get away from that situation, do that. Otherwise, be aware that you could be in a very dangerous situation. You could have energized lines touching your vehicle, and call 911. Let them know of the situation. But you also have to really keep your wits about you. You have to be aware that as you wait for assistance, if others around are hoping or trying to assist you, you need to make them aware that, hey, there may be a very dangerous situation here. The shell of the car may be energized. Things around the area may be energized from the down wire. So, electricity is looking for a path to flow on, and you want to make sure you don't become that path for electricity to flow through. But if the lines are energized, your car may begin to smoke and there might be a fire, and you have to be aware as you wait for assistance. If you have to get away from the vehicle, there are very specific steps that you have to take. Open the door, avoid touching anything on the outside. There's a very specific process of how you get away from a vehicle. You'll often hear people say you have to exit the vehicle, but cross your arms. You have to position yourself without touching the vehicle to hop out of it. Make sure your legs are together. You're trying to avoid becoming a path. You really have to keep your wits, again, as I've said, and follow very specific procedures to exit the vehicle safely. And once you are away from the vehicle, shuffle your feet. Don't create a separation that would allow electricity to flow.
What are some of the other dangers of electricity, that we may not be thinking about, we may not encounter as often, that you would like to let people know about? Are there some other dangers out there that maybe are less common?
Yeah, I would say, people assume that every electrical conductor or line is at the same voltage as what's in their home. 120, 240, they don't recognize or realize that a lot of the lines that you see along roads or across fields are very high voltage conductors. They carry a lot of potential and they can do a lot of damage if not used correctly. So I think that's one misconception. Most consumers just believe electricity is at a single voltage similar to their home. The other thing that we want people to think about, especially at this time of the year, there's a lot of farmers out in the fields. Electrical conductor is not insulated. So as farmers operate large machinery, being aware of their surroundings, and it's just not farmers, it's others that are out, after being cooped up for a few months. When you're out and you're using either, yard tools or machinery, be aware of the conductors around you, because if you come in contact with those, we can have a bad situation.
Okay, good advice. Something, month of May, have this conversation at home. Talk to your family members about it, your neighbors, so that everyone stays safe this summer. Craig, we appreciate you talking about this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next month.